Welcome to this first installment of IICIE Insight. And today I have my good friend Joss Monzon with me, who is a branding guru. And I wanted to start with him because what we are doing with IICIE Insight is all about knowledge and content and making sure that organization understands how important various areas of startup growth are. Joss, before I go into details about your introduction, what I wanted to do was tell you a little bit about what we are doing from IICIE Insights. So one of the things which we are doing is we have different themes which we have selected, and those themes would basically be focused on different areas where innovators and entrepreneurs need to grow. So I think you already know that IICIE is International Initiatives for Creative Innovators and Entrepreneurs. So what are the themes where they need to focus on? So the themes I have selected are first leadership, then inspiration, then startups, growth, transformation, innovation, knowledge, and content. So these are the 8 themes which I have selected.
Wow,
And
good.
in all of these themes, we will be having some conversations. So first of all, before we move forward, today's topic is branding. Which theme do you think it aligns with the most?
Just one, I would say then leadership maybe.
Okay, that's interesting. Actually, I would have put it at growth. So, but it is very interesting that, and now actually I can see how how branding is important for leadership, because if you
Yeah.
don't build a brand, then there's no leadership in your product category.
Yes.
That's good to know. So let me introduce you. Joss Monzon is my very good friend. We met through the APMA, Automotive Parts Manufacturing Association Industry 4.0 committee. We are both on the committee. Joss is an expert on branding, but I think more than that, he's an expert on storytelling. He's a film producer and writer. He's also been on the branding side with various major publications. He's also right now working with a virtual reality company. So he's got a lot of experience and expertise, and he's a very creative person. He's got his own portfolio, amazing things. So I'll come to you now, Joss. Please, can you go into more details on what are your passions, what are your interests, and what you have done in life?
Thank you, AJ. Yes. Well, yeah, I basically went to university for graphic design. So I started as a graphic designer. But the good thing about graphic design, and that's something that I've been talking with other friends, is graphic design gives you the knowledge to solve problems for other people. Because basically, when clients come to you, they have a problem, but they have a problem that they have no idea how to solve, basically, So you have to solve their problem graphically, which is just the beginning of the whole thing. So then you really have to learn branding. And branding is basically how to give your client that background story so people can get in love of their brand, which is nothing easy, So it has a method, scientific method, basically, and then you have to at the end test it and see if it actually works. So that's something that I started with. When I came to Canada, I started, my first job was actually the art director at the Toronto Star, which is the biggest newspaper here in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there working there for 10 years. And since then I moved, to film and commercials and motion graphics and now virtual reality. Yes. So that's a little bit of what I've done.
That's very interesting. So I think what you said about branding, that is all about storytelling. I think that's what your career has been about, like, and that's what interests you in branding.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. So let's talk about branding. First of all, you've already given it a little bit of background, but can you define what is a brand?
Yes, a brand is what you think when you see a logo, or when you even hear the name of the brand. That's what you feel. That's exactly what it should be, you know? So it's when you are in love with a woman, and then when you even think about that woman, what do you feel? That's exactly what a brand should bring to you. That feeling. So when I say to you the word Volvo, you think safety,
Okay,
and
okay.
that's what you think. And if you have a family, the only thing that you want to buy is something that is safe for your family. But you have never crashed, so you don't really know if Volvo is safe or not. You know, they tell you, and you see the test, but every manufacturer, every car manufacturer has all these safety standards, you know. But so why do you believe that Volvo is the safest car in the world? You know,
Right, right.
because how they position their brand, and then you feel safe. You feel, you know, you never think about numbers. You feel the brand, and the brand becomes yours. You become it's like Apple, you know. Apple is double of the price of any other computer, you know, and it doesn't matter. They sell it like crazy because what they're selling is think different. It's for people that think different, you know.
Right, right,
That's how
right.
they position it.
So branding is basically a feeling. If I look at it from a startup's point of view, so you're a new startup, do you need to start looking at branding almost immediately, or is it something which can wait? How important is branding for a startup?
Immediately, because basically, uh, it's like what they say. You know, there's only one. There's no second chance for a first impression. You know, so the
Okay.
first impression. So and I have this conversation with many clients. You know, they say, you know what, host, right now I don't have money, so we're gonna start, and then we'll do it. You know, and I say no. The most important assets of your whole company is your brand. Is the most important asset for your business. So if you think about McDonald's, the M, that logo,
Mm-hmm.
is the most important. That's the thing that actually is worth the money of the whole company. You take that brand and then you put another logo, same hamburger, same everything. People wouldn't know what to do, you know,
Okay.
because that M brings me safety. So if I'm in China, actually that actually happened to me. So I was in China and
Okay.
I'm moving around, and then everything is in Chinese. I have no idea what. There's nothing in English, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The moment you see the logo, you know, it brings you safety and it brings you comfort. You know that what you're going to get there is exactly the same thing that you're going to get in your country. You know, it doesn't matter if it's healthy or whatever. You know where you're getting.
So you're saying so startups should consider looking at branding right at the beginning because many
Right.
startups are started by techies and they focus on the product. They don't focus on the branding. So
Yes.
you're saying that they're not focusing on the story basically.
Yes.
I think just so that it is clear to everyone, what was the brand of Google when it started?
If I remember well, Google always had that same Google with different colors,
Okay.
and everything was white, just like the way it is today. And I think it was. I remember the first time I went to Google, I was like, what is this? You know, because remember at that time you have Yahoo,
Yes.
you have Netscape.
Yeah, I don't even remember that now.
Yes. And if you remember, those websites were actually packed with information and with stuff all over the place.
Yes, yes, yes.
And Google was white, you know. And there's an article actually that I was reading yesterday, and I actually wrote it here. I'm going to read it to you because this is important. Oh, it says, how can companies, both large and small, identify the moment? Oh, this is the question. So this is how companies identify the moment when they need branding. Okay, so it says everything your organization does is driven by your brand. Everything, products, promotion, platforms, culture, everything. if you cannot say two words that define it and are part of all the above, then your brand is not properly built and you're wasting money, basically, you know? So, and says, unfortunately, branding is seen mostly as an instrument for influencing surface perceptions, you know? Give me 1 second, because there's another. Okay, so if you're using the same approach as the competition, same tools, same words, same hashtags, same influencers, and the only difference is either price or advertising spent, something is wrong.
Okay, that's
And then
very clear. Yeah.
I'm going back to Google. Google did actually the total opposite of Yahoo, Hotmail, or Netscape. And look where Google is today.
When you used to go to the Google website, you could just see the difference. They didn't have to tell you, they didn't have to explain it to you, you could just see it.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. So actually, I think that does bring me to my next point is that, and you kind of mentioned that, how is branding different from marketing and advertisement? So there is usually some confusion. People associate branding with marketing, but
Yes,
there is a distinction here.
yes. Well, like, mar- marketing gives you the numbers. Marketing basically gives you how are you going to distribute your brand, the content of your brand. That is marketing, you know. But in order to survive, you need branding and marketing. You need both, you know.
Okay.
So the branding part is the story part and the beauty part. Let's call it the beauty part. I mean,
Okay.
a logo doesn't need to be beautiful, you know. It has nothing to do with beauty. It just needs to work,
Okay.
you know. But then you need the actual strategy, which is marketing, to distribute that content. So both need both are important hand in hand, you know. Yeah,
Okay. That makes
yeah.
sense.
And,
So
and, and advertising is basically taking that strategy that you develop with your marketing team, and then you use all this media to distribute your content, which could be a pen, it could be a commercial, billboard. That is the advertising part.
okay. So does that mean that a brand also needs to be targeted to a specific group of individuals?
Yes, if you aim to sell to everybody, then you will not succeed.
Okay.
You know, so that's why you have to really focus on a specific niche, like and in the context of, and obviously you have to love what you do, you know. But like Apple or Starbucks, for example, you know, Starbucks is focused on a very specific niche market, you know.
Okay.
Entrepreneurs that need a place to work and to have meetings and comfortable, you know. That was basically the main thing when it came to designing that coffee shop, you know. It's not even about the coffee, you know, it's about
Right.
everything else.
Based on that, now we are living in the post-COVID-19 environment, and that means a lot of people are working from home, and we are in what we call the new normal. So for a startup, does that mean branding has changed? Does it play a more important role because we are always online now? So how do you see the role of branding in this environment?
Well, branding is so important because you have two options: people will choose you or people will not choose you.
All right. Yeah.
That's basically it. So how are people going to choose you if they don't even know you, first of all, you know? So but now that they know you, then they they have to be, you know, attracted to you. First of all, they have to be curious about you, like see something about you that gets your curiosity going. Click the link, whatever video, I don't know, you know. Once you go there, they have to know you. That's the enlightenment, you know. Oh, I get it. Okay. After that, if they actually like it, they will do the okay, you know, I'll buy the thing, or I'll call. whatever.
Okay.
But the branding is so important because that's basically how you're going to attract again
Right.
your market.
So that basically means that branding is actually a business driver. It is what
It
actually
is
drives your business to you.
a business driver. Yes.
So let's come to how a brand works. I found that there are four parts of a brand. So what I read was first is brand identity. So who are you? Second is brand meaning. What are you? Third is brand responses. What about you? So what does the brand say about you? And finally is what is the brand relationship? So what about you and me? So what is the conversation because of the brand? Is that correct? Can you
Yes.
elaborate on that?
Yeah. Totally. Yes.
So let's talk about some example of that. So as a brand identity, let's say if I'm driving a Porsche, what does it say about me?
Well, uh, yes. So obviously, when you buy a Porsche, it is a status basically. I mean, it means that you have to have money to buy a Porsche. You have to have
Okay.
money to buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or all these different cars. But if you think about it, it doesn't like above $100,000. There's a lot of different brands, you know,
Hmm.
but there's a specific market for each one of these brands. So maybe some of these are even aimed for a specific social class,
Okay.
even above the $100,000. You have in China now you have $1 million, $2 million cars that are actually
Right.
Chinese cars. Who's buying those cars? Billionaires,
Of
or
course.
super rich people. So how do they choose this car? So why would I buy this car, which is a brand that nobody knows, it's only in China, versus a Lamborghini, which is $500,000. What
Yeah. I have another comparison also. So a Porsche versus a Tesla. So what does it say about the owner?
That's exactly it. Yes, exactly. That's a good question. So obviously is how they position themselves. So if you see a Porsche is basically is it is manly, it is fast, it is danger, it is that kind of thing, elegance
Right.
too, versus the Tesla. It is it is you're saving the planet. It is beautiful and sporty, but it's not flashy. It's not a flashy car. So it would tell you that I'm rich,
Hmm.
but I'm also more. I would say, I don't know, the word conservative would be the word. I don't know.
Okay.
And the Porsche would be a little bit more flashy, more Hollywood kind of thing.
Right.
But that's the positioning. Like
That's the
it's,
thing.
it's like, for example, if you have a Chrysler, a van, and if you see a van, the guy that buys the Porsche, he wouldn't buy the van ever because he says, I'm not a soccer mom.
Right.
So why a van is considered a soccer mom van? If you see the commercials, it's moms driving a lot of kids going to soccer or parties or whatever. So it's the brand positioning basically.
So that was deliberately done for that particular vehicle.
Yes.
Very interesting. And I think the audience can see that we are both, related to the Automotive Parts Manufacturing Association somehow, because we are talking vehicles a lot here. So let's talk about another thing, which is a brand resonance pyramid. So this was the building blocks of a brand. So initially, when we think of a brand, we think of whether it justifies our need. So if I want to have orange juice, it will just be whether this is orange juice. So that's the salience part. Then above that is the performance. So then I would look at something which is about product reliability. So you gave the example of Volvo earlier, that safety is what we think about. Above that is imagery, so history and heritage. So maybe I am looking at something where there is a history and heritage, the imagery, the colors, all of that, the messaging around that. But an example of that is history and heritage of the company, of the brand. above that is the judgment. So if the brand lets me make a judgment call on quality or credibility of the vehicle, maybe Mercedes is a brand which is something like that, or a BMW. And then you had mentioned feelings. So a brand makes us, and that you started with that, a brand should uh, enable some feelings in us. So that is almost at the top of the pyramid, as I see it. And the final one was resonance. So I actually become part of the brand community, and I promote the brand, and I become loyal to the brand. That's
Yes.
how you see this?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I think one of the brands that are the the brands that made this the best is Coca-Cola.
All right. Yes.
So if you think about it, Coca-Cola is pure crap. It's sugar. Is black. So you know what? When you see something black, you don't want to eat something black. You know, it's not really, you know. But they made it.
Yes.
It actually happened. And also it's so unhealthy that like basically Mexico is is the number one country that drinks Coca-Cola in the world,
Really?
and also Mexico is number one in diabetes.
Okay.
Yes. So, but then you're talking about quality on the pyramid. So if you think about it, the brand is so amazing that what they are selling you, they're not selling you the liquid, they're selling you happiness. So basically it's the happiness factory. So when you go and the commercials, one of the most successful campaigns from Coca-Cola ever was the happiness factory. And what are they selling you? You are thirsty, but you're always in a beautiful place with your girlfriend or something, and then oh, and there's the Coca-Cola, and then
Right.
you become happy, and thirst is gone.
Yes.
So imagine this, and then there was a truck, a big red truck, that was a part of the campaign, going through different cities, and they stopped. You push the button, and then something amazing would come from the truck, like surfboard, skateboard, food, box
Right.
of Coca-Cola. Always is something related with happiness. You know. So if you think Coca-Cola, I remember, I don't know, 40 years ago when I was younger, there was in Mexico a store that would actually sell only T-shirts, mugs, everything Coca-Cola, and wearing a Coca-Cola brand was cool. Was a symbol of coolness.
So you're part of that community.
Yes,
And I think another such brand is Harley Davidson.
of course.
That builds a huge community.
So Harley Davidson is one of the most amazing case too, because I don't know if you know the story, but Yamaha and Honda, all these Japanese motorcycles, when they came to the United States, they were Harley Davidson was almost in bankruptcy, and
Okay.
then they thought, okay, what is going to make us different from Honda and Kawasaki, these amazing motorcycles? Heritage,
Right.
America made,
Yes.
freedom, you know. So when you're riding a motorcycle, a Harley Davidson, you are riding freedom. You're
Right.
buying freedom. So how many people do you know that have like a motor, like a jacket that says Harley Davidson, they don't have a motorcycle?
Actually, you're correct. Yes, I know some people like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it gives that personality. So, oh, I am this guy.
Yes.
Freedom for freedom.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
amazing. People tattoos with the Harley Davidson, on their arms, and it is a motorcycle. It's nothing. It's not freedom, but
Yeah.
branding makes you feel that is my brand. That is my personality, Harley.
Yes. And that's amazing brand messaging and brand storytelling.
Yes.
So, and I think that actually takes us back to the concept of brand equity, because you had mentioned this a little bit before, that building the brand value. So Harley Davidson, in order to stand out, they started this whole branding strategy, but that actually helped them build their brand equity a lot.
Yes.
And
Yeah. It's billions of dollars. The brand.
so can you just explain what is brand equity and how does a brand actually increase the value of corporate identity? You also mentioned that about McDonald's also before. So how does that happen?
Well, I mean, that would be in terms of brand equity. I am not an expert, so I don't know how to really value a brand in terms of how do you value a brand. But I think it's more like how much is your company. It's like Apple. How
Right.
much is Apple worth? You know, but if you think about it, Apple's worth is the brand. Uh, is not the logo. You know, it is the brand. So
Okay.
so if, and I did something very important because once you become an Apple employee, you are part of the brand. So how do you answer the phone? How do you respond and in the store? All that's part of the brand. So brand messaging is part of the strategy. What do you say? What you don't say? All that stuff is important. You know, so it's a whole ongoing strategy. Your branding system never stops growing. You know, it grows. It has to grow with your company when it's growing too.
And you mentioned that of course you're not a financial consultant on brand equity, but we can measure the value of a brand. We can measure
Yes.
exactly how much a brand is worth.
Yes.
So for startups, that means that if they start looking at branding strategies right at the beginning of their brand, they can actually enable increase in value of their startup.
Of course. And basically, the branding is what am I? How? Why am I going to choose you? Why? Because you're gonna help me.
Right.
That's basically what I'm going to choose you. So you have to be very sure that your brand it's very clear. You know, if your message is not clear, which is part of the brand messaging, you are doomed. So it doesn't matter how beautiful is your logo and your website. You know, so messaging is big part of the branding too.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So I definitely think anyone who's watching us should look at a branding strategy, should ensure that they have branding inbuilt into their startup right at the beginning, and
Yes.
make sure that they have a strategy for that to
Yeah.
enable brand equity. All this is very interesting, and we can go on and on in this. And I'm learning so much in this conversation. But I want to finish on one thing, which is what is the difference between a corporate brand and a personal brand? Because I think in today's day and age, we all should have our own personal brands also.
Yes. Yes. So basically, for example, let's say your personal brand. If you don't build your personal brand, somebody else will,
Okay.
which is very important. So it doesn't matter what you do. It's also important or what you don't do in terms of your personal brand. So if you're on Facebook, for example, Facebook, social media, whatever, today, people, if you're not make sure that the messaging that you're giving is the right one, then people will start creating their own brand perception of you. So
Okay.
at the end of the day, you will have a brand, you know, but maybe you'll have the one that you don't want, and you also, and who's to blame? Yourself, you know. So it's also important. So brand, your personal brand, it is important to think about if you're active in social media. It's important. If I'm dressed with suit and tie every time, that's part of my brand messaging. That's
Right.
I want you to perceive that I am this kind of people. If I'm always wearing my T-shirt that says Star Wars, that's part of what I
That's your
want.
brand.
So all this is important, but I wouldn't. It's no difference from a corporate brand. In a corporate brand, it's just more pieces. To build that brand,
Right.
it's basically the same thing.
Great. So this is awesome stuff. I think we all need to concentrate on our own branding, whether it is personal or corporate, and make sure that we've got the correct story out there and ensure that people view us as we want to be viewed. They understand what we are passionate about, what we are interested about as a company or as an individual. So, Horst, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation. And I'm sure everyone listening and watching would also find it very insightful. Thank you.